Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric, current writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2011 romantic comedy titled Something Borrowed. Now, Something Borrowed runs for 1 hour and 52 minutes long. It is directed by Luke Greenfield. The script was written by Ginny Snyder Erman. It is based off of a novel, Something Borrowed. I believe it's a series of novels, and it was written by Emily Giffen. It is produced by Hilary Swank, Molly Smith, Broderick Johnson, Andrew Kasove, or is it Kasovi? I'm not sure. If I murdered your name, I apologize. Let's see, we have Aaron Lubin and Pamela Shine Murphy. It is composed by Alex Werman, the cinematography by Charles Minsky, and it was edited by John Axelrad. And the stars of the movie are Ginnifer Goodwin, Kate Hudson, Peyton List, who plays a young Darcy. We have Colin Egglesfield, John Krasinski, Steve Howey, Ashley Williams, Geoff Pierson, and Jill Eikenberry. Now, what did I think of this movie? I will admit that Something Borrowed has a lot more heavier baggage on its shoulders than compared to the myriad of other romantic comedies, and has some potential to make a lot of the material really work. I really wanted to like this film, but sadly, there are a lot of hiccups in this movie and a plethora of red herrings that I will be more than gladly to arbitrarily undertake. The novel this movie is adapted from by Emily Giffen succeeds in trying to be more mature beyond comparison to the other romantic novels. But when you transfer it to a movie, it only makes a half-assed effort in getting the material right, only to make everything feel unsettling and unsatisfying. All I can say right now is that no matter what character is played in this movie, especially the principal four, there's not one likable trait in each of them. Even if the character or characters sometimes have a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing as well. You may think that sometimes the protagonists in this story are usually clean cut and cookie cutter. Well, some things may have some level of deceiving elements to it, which I will be gladly happy to extrapolate. The movie stars Ginnifer Goodwin. She is Rachel. She's a soft-spoken, introverted, the typical girl next door type. The one who will probably wake up in the morning, go off to work, she'll wave at you, she'll be nice and kind and friendly, and she seems like a sweet lady. She's a mild-speaking lawyer who has been unintentionally placed in a precarious situation that she can't fully escape from. Yes, even it sometimes goes to show you that even the innocents can commit acts of pure, unadulterated guilt. Now, her attention-hungry, self-centered best friend, Darcy, played by Kate Hudson, is about to tie the knot with a young attorney named Dex, played by Colin Egglesfield. Now, Rachel and Dex were one-time lovers from her college days. They bonded. They would do all kinds of, law stuff. Maybe they were, with each other during bar exams or what other assorted essential initiatives it takes to actually qualify yourself as a lawyer. Don't look at me. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a journalist. Anyhow, I had to do this. I had to go through initiatives too. Doesn't everybody? Grind the books, pass the exams, complete all assignments, and everything else in between. Huh? Let us go on. So they've been, very good friends. So they obviously had some kind of chemistry with each other. And I don't know, I guess there's some strange reason her and Dex fell apart, but they weren't like, completely out of each other's lives. But being that Darcy is way too over herself in the ego department, Rachel just doesn't have the bravery to tell her that she is still attracted to Dex. This leads to an endless flurry of events between two women fighting over one man. Apparently, just moments before Darcy's wedding to Dex, this is really all very confusing in this romantic triangle, which I could probably may consider to be what kind of a triangle? I don't think it's a right triangle, maybe an isosceles or a scalene. But it's a triangle nonetheless. And it's fucking confusing. And there's a lot of bullshit that goes on between these people. So apparently, here's the clicker here, folks. Rachel had an affair with Dex. And she's still attracted to Dex. And she actually committed an act of adultery towards a man who's about to be married to a person who Rachel has always considered a best friend. A best friend since childhood. They're almost like practically fucking sisters. There's the whole wolf in sheep's clothing, folks. Well, I don't know. I don't want to pass Rachel off as a wolf. She seems to be a kind, soft-spoken individual who you want to like, who you want to sympathize with. But she still committed an act of adultery. And while I don't take that much umbrage to Darcy because she's so full of herself and she's got an ego the size of Long Island, it's very hard to actually sympathize with her. They want us to take sympathy over somebody who doesn't really fully deserve her sympathy, while at the same time, you don't take sympathy over a person who you generally like because what she did was morally wrong. She knew what she did was morally wrong. But she doesn't have the heart or the guts to tell her. Sweet lady, sure. But she's mousy and she's gutless. And I don't want to hurt on her. And I'm not trying to be hard on her. But however, she still did something wrong. And it's just really hard. It's just really hard to take sympathy over characters who do something wrong, while at the same time you don't take sympathy over somebody because of their whole personification that kind of just persuades you not to like a certain individual. So one night, Rachel and Dex go to a bar and, as usual, get drunk. And the next morning, they wake up in the same bed. Oh, she could have just crashed the couch, but no, 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 no. No, they woke up in the same bed. This leads to Rachel in a precarious situation. Should she continue her relationship with Dex? Should she break up her best friend's wedding because she still has feelings for Dex? This movie is about making important decisions, and the continuous angle is handled very well at times. There are many situations where this situation is handled very well, even though I can't take too much sympathy for any characters. You know, with Rachel, I'm kind of being tough love with, while maybe with Darcy, I'm showing some kind of what you call soft hate. I hate her, but at the same time, I do kind of feel a little bad for her that her friend would betray her like that. And not even knowing what the consequences that will come with it. But still, sadly, something borrowed has been another fine line of romantic comedies that have literally been borrowed before in terms of ideas, situations, and scenarios. Everything just feels so recycled, as there's too many scenes that have been done before in better films than this one. It becomes a formulaic lover's triangle as the meek underdog friend goes into not a I guess it is a competitive entanglement with her friend while making one bad decision after another. Though Rachel may come across as a sweet, innocent type, well, unfortunately, she's anything but. I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve love. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to be in a relationship with. But I'm sorry, Rachel. Dex has already been taken, which kind of makes her unfortunately into a double crossing her best friend by sleeping with her ex-lover who's about to get married to her. And meanwhile, Darcy was quite toxic in character. She still treats Rachel like shit at times as an inferior, making her quite unlikable, and even to care anything more for I can't care anything less for her. I mean, she's still being betrayed by Rachel and her fate of trust. And I thought they were almost like blood sisters. Stick together, trust one another. Well, if that fate and trust is virtually non existent in this story, then maybe there's a possibility that even Rachel and Darcy probably don't really like each other in real life. Just that Rachel's a little too afraid to say it. The hypocrisy in this movie could have easily been solved if one of the party candidates actually told the truth. Or maybe so if one of them was actually at least likable. And this is kind of where the big red herring comes in. I mean, when it came to casting choices, I would say that it left me quite impressed as the performers seemed organic in their respective roles. I didn't have a problem with the acting, tell you the truth. Ginnifer Goodwin, she plays the meek and mild quite convincingly. Kate Hudson seems to be spot on as the overbearing, toxic best friend who's been betrayed by her most trusted friend, putting that term rather loosely. And then you got Colin Egglesfield as Dex. He's just caught in the middle of this turmoil and doesn't really care who he ends up with once the film comes to a close. Maybe he does still have feelings for Rachel, but maybe doesn't want to completely part ways with Darcy. Even though once Rachel finally does have the bravery to say what she did, which inevitably breaks up the relationship. But I guess Dex kind of has to determine and decide to himself who he wants to spend the rest of his life with. Unfortunately, he can't have it both ways. Pick one or the other. In one of the more standout supporting roles, John Krasinski joins the fray as Ethan, who is Rachel's platonic guy buddy, who is not afraid to exploit all the lies Darcy has been saying to Rachel. At times I felt bad for the situations each of the characters are going through. Of course, you know, they could have went the way like maybe Rachel could have been in a relationship with Ethan, but I guess Ethan is, you know, kind of like the glue that holds everything together. And I think some of his, and maybe he might be, maybe the character who comes maybe the closest to being more likable, or maybe to put more sense into Rachel's head, since she doesn't seem to know the difference between right and wrong. I'm not saying that she's stupid, but what I'm saying is she's vulnerable. Vulnerability is not synonymous with stupidity. Just what she just needs a little direction and maybe a bit of a reality check. And Ethan is practically maybe the only person who could give it out to her. Even if it is tough love or the sad truth. But because there is so much fucking betrayal, it made feeling sympathy towards them all very, very difficult. I don't condone betrayal. I mean, I don't condone Darcy's attitude and the way she puts down her friend, because I don't think friends should do things like that. Sometimes I wish Rachel would have just come up to Darcy's face and tell her to fuck off, you bitch. But she doesn't do that. The thing that really totally fucks the mind is, why do these people even hang out with each other? Huh? Darcy and Dex are unconvincing as soon to be married couple. Obviously, Dex is not really that into Darcy. Rachel and Darcy are not real friends. Real friends don't betray their others, while also real best friends don't put the other one down. However, if you put them in more realistic situation than what's presented here, then it would have likely quenched my satisfaction. Darcy really fucking got on my nerves the whole time, and I can't show sympathy to a bitch like her. And Rachel is a chronic person wallowing in her conflicted ways. She needs to simply just get away from it all and start a new life on her own. And as for Dex, he's nothing more than just a clueless moron who's not worthy of mention. I mean, Even he needs a tough love life lesson from his parents. Come to think of it, what is Darcy's job? And while Rachel and Dex are lawyers, we never really see them at work. You ever notice that? And they're always on vacation, so they're always in bars or nightclubs or hanging out in the Hamptons. Yeah, I mean, I guess I gather they're all rich. Even though I don't know what Darcy's job is. Under the direction of Luke Greenfield, he seems very confused by the movie. And I'm not here to be sexist about a kind of movie of this caliber, but I don't think this movie should have been directed by a man. I'm not being male feminist. I'm not being a misandrist either, because I can't be a misandrist. Hello, I'm a male. But at the same time, I don't think this movie should have been directed by a male. I'm just saying. I'm sure, and I'm not saying that all male directors should direct action movies and females should direct romantic comedies. No, I'm not saying that. But in this movie of this particular ilk, I think a female director would have been quite sufficient. Because he just seems so confused by this whole thing that he can't seem to iron out the problems with the script. Everything looks and feels very clustered, even though it's set in New York City, the Big Apple, the Big Kahuna. But it seems like it makes New York City look like a small town, since they seem to all intertwine with each other. When you're at New York City, you might see a person one day, and then you'll probably never see them ever again. But it seems like everybody's all clustered together. It's like one big human centipede clusterfuck. Everyone sees the same person over and over again, and the scenes just seem to repeat themselves. They make New York City into a dull place where it's anything but. Hey, it's the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps. The largest, most populated city in the United States. You got over 11 million people. And you don't just see the same group of assholes every time. I mean, sure, it's an achievement that everybody just all seems to bunch each other in, but it's anything but. And it's and then maybe it might be a milestone or an achievement, but I'm not saying it's a good achievement because it just lacks realism. And sure, there were some moments where there was a lot of humor, and the dramatic tensions actually can be quite emotional. It's just that it's all very scattered. Nothing really fleshes out very well. It had potential to be a very provocative romantic comedy, but the mindset set is overall dated, recycled, and cliched, even by 2011 standards. So, when all is said and done, if I was to give this movie a scale from 1 to 10, I would have to give Something Borrowed from 2011 a 5 out of 10. I would recommend it. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments, and I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Correct Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.